Hey, do you remember that fun story called Epossumondas? Let's use it to learn about cause and effect.
Epossumondas. Written by Coleen Kelley. Illustrated by Janet Stevens.
For my big kids, you can see if you can find this page, or you can just follow along with Miss Kristen. Don't forget to put your name on the top of your page. Take your pencil and do that right now. It says Epossumondas, cause and effect, okay? These are the causes and these are the effects. I love doing cause-effect games because they really help us to understand why things happened and what happened because of those things. Number 1 says, because Epossumondas held the cake tightly in his hands, what was the effect or what happened?
When Epossumondas got home, his mama looked at that fistful of crumbs.
That's right. He got a fistful of crumbs. So I want you to write that part in while Miss Kristen shows you a little trick, okay? This is one of my favorite tricks to do using cause and effect. Watch this. We can read this side first, and it says, Epossumondas held the cake tightly in his hands, so he got a fistful of crumbs. That's right. Or we could read the effect side first. We could say, he got a fistful of crumbs because Epossumondas held the cake tightly in his hands. So you can read the cause first or the effect first. They go together. One doesn't always have to be first, okay? We can switch them up. Now, let's look at the second one. Number 2 says, because Epossumondas put the butter under a hat on his head, okay, what happened? What was the effect?
Looked at him, and she said, Epossumondas, what do you have in that hat? Butter, Mama. Auntie gave it to me. Oh, Epossumondas, you don't have the sense you were born with. That's no way to carry butter.
Okay, if you go back and listen to the story, it doesn't actually tell us in words what happened to that butter, but you remember that cute little picture of him taking off his hat and the butter's all dripping down his face. Ew, drippy butter. So how can we say that in words? Because Epossumondas put the butter under a hat on his head, what happened? The butter dripped down and melted. We're gonna write that, and A-N-D, melted, melted, okay? Now, while you're filling that in, Miss Kristen's going to remind you you can say this way, first the effect or first the cause. Ready? Miss Kristen's going to do it first. Epossumondas put the butter under a hat on his head, so the butter dripped and melted. Or we could say the effect first. We could say the butter dripped and melted because Epossumondas put the butter under a hat on his head. That's right. If you want to, you could write a little clue to yourself. This side is because, and the clue word for effect is so. You always say because before you read this. You always say so before you read this side. Next, let's do number 3. It says, Epossumondas, because Epossumondas covered the puppy with leaves and dunked him in the water, what happened? You're right, the puppy got wet. The puppy got really wet. Let's write it in green so it stands out. The puppy, poor little sweet puppy, got, can we write soaked? Because he didn't just get wet, he got soaked. Soaking wet. Okay, the puppy got soaked. Write that down. Now, while you do that, Miss Kristen's going to show you how to read it again. Ready? We're going to read this side first this time. The puppy got soaked because Epossumondas covered the puppy with leaves and dunked him in the water. That's why. Okay, now let's read this side first. Epossumondas covered the puppy with leaves and dunked him in the water. So the puppy got soaked. Okay, good job. You're doing great on this. You only have one more. Look. Okay, here we go. Because Epossumondas dragged the bread behind him on a string, what happened?
Tied a piece of string around it, took the other end of the string, and went along home. On his way home, he passed Armadillo, and Armadillo asked, what you got, Epossumondas? Bread, he replied. Don't much look like bread to me, said Armadillo.
Okay, so it doesn't actually say in the story either for the bread, but the bread turned into nothing, right? It turned into a thing on a string, remember? The bread, let's write this. The bread broke into pieces. What do you think happened to those pieces on the way home? They crumbled away and they went away. That's right. He couldn't bring a whole loaf home after that. No way. Okay, so let's read this side first. Epossumondas dragged the bread behind him on a string, so the bread broke into pieces. Or we could do this side first. The bread broke into pieces because Epossumondas dragged the bread behind him on a string. Yay! Okay, let's write this answer. Who are some of the animals Epossumondas came across on his journey back and forth from Auntie's house to home? Who are they? Do you remember those characters? I know you do. Now, it doesn't have to be in any particular order. Who do you think first?
On his way home, he passed Alligator.
Okay, Alligator was the first one. We don't have to put them in order. Miss Kristen's going to try to put them in order using the story, though. Okay, you spell it like Miss Kristen. Alligator is his name, so we're going to capitalize that letter A. We know to capitalize the letter A for someone's name.
On his way home, he passed Raccoon.
Okay, Raccoon was next. Okay, Raccoon has 2 C's and 2 O's. So it looks like raccoon, raccoon, okay? The person he met after, the character he met after the raccoon was...
On his way home, he passed Nutria, and Nutria asked, "What you got, Epossumondas?"
The next person he met was Nutria. We're going to write her name, Nutria, but I don't know the type of animal she is. She looks like she could be a mouse or a badger, so we're just going to call her Nutria. If you want to write the name of her animal type, that's fine. You can do that. Okay, we have one more animal that he met on the way home.
On his way home, he passed Armadillo, and Armadillo asked, what you got, Epossumondas? Bread, he replied. Don't much look like bread to me, said Armadillo.
Okay, he met Armadillo last. That's right. Armadillo. Okay, write that down. The last question asks us, what phrase was repeated over and over by Epossumondas' mama? Sorry, that doesn't finish there. Upon Epossumondas, it says, you don't have what?
Oh, Epossumondas! Epossumondas! You don't have the sense you were born with.
That's right, you got it. The sense you were born with. We all have the sense we were born with because God helps us to think clearly every day. We don't have to think like Epossumondas thinks. Good job. My big kids, this was a tough sheet, but you did a good job with cause and effect today. We will practice this even more later. Okay, great job, and thank you for reading and working with Epossumondas with me today. Bye-bye.